Alright, so for this video, I'm going to go over everything you need to know before you buy a property. I looked on YouTube and there are tons of videos like this, but they're all done by realtors, and as someone who was a first-time home buyer, I went in not knowing anything. I sort of wish I had this video before I bought a property, and since I've been living in it, I feel like I got a pretty good grasp on what you should look for when you're buying a property. Just generally what to look for when you're viewing properties, going to open houses, or anything like that. I had a really difficult time because when you're looking at condos, and that's what we bought, and that's what I'm going to be focusing on in this video. You know what? They all kind of look the same. Like, there's not a big variance difference between one condo to the next. They're all built pretty similar. The layouts are all pretty similar. But here are some things that you should know before you buy or view any properties. First is the location. All right, so I'm in Abbotsford, BC. We're about an hour and a half east of Vancouver, Canada. And the first biggest decision you're going to make when you're viewing properties is location. Is this a neighborhood you want to live in? Can you imagine yourself living here for 10, 15 years? That's really how far out you have to look when you're viewing properties and when you're planning on buying something. Generally, the closer to the city you are, the more expensive, the less land, the less space you're going to get. Further out in the suburbs, you're just going to get more property. And it's a bit of a trade-off in determining, can you commute? Is it worth it? There's really no right or wrong answer. It's up to you. Location's big though. So imagine you're going to be there for 10, 15 years. Can you do it? Is that a property you can stick to? That's really the outlook you should have. I'll give you some shots of Abbotsford and we'll continue on. All right, so after you find your location, you gotta find a building. We were looking at condos, so it was pretty much, like I said, all the same. If you're looking at houses, then you might want to consider a lot of other things that I'm probably not an expertise to tell you about. So I would find a trusted friend or maybe even a home inspector. That's kind of your decision. But you really want to look at what the building has to offer, how well taken care it is, and that makes a huge difference. So when you're looking over the building, you really want to look at the roof, the siding, the structure, make sure everything's good. If you're buying a condo or an strata unit, you want to go over the minutes, make sure there's no special levies coming up, anything unexpected. That's what we did. We had family, friends, we looked it over ourselves, our realtor looked it over, just to see if they could find anything that maybe could be an issue in the future. And if you really look, you can find some older buildings with a lot of unique characteristics over the new built stuff. Or like I said a little earlier, get a home inspector, get someone you trust to really look over the place. Yeah, let's continue on our little tour of the Lower Mainland and we'll go from there. All right, so we're in Fort Langley. Next thing you're gonna be wanting to look for while you're looking at homes to view is things that you must have. These aren't things that you want, but these are things that you absolutely need just to survive. And that could be, for us, it was a parking spot. We needed 2 parking spots. But for you, it might be a second bedroom, it might be a basement suite. These are just things that are absolutely must-haves in your list. I hope you enjoyed Fort Langley. Let's continue on. Okay, so we looked for an area, we found a building. Now, when you're viewing a property, what to look for when you get inside. The first few things you're going to want to look for are just the general layout. What I really loved about this building was it's very unique. It's a lot different than most condos. It's got the skylight, it's got 2 floors, it's got a lot of characteristics you won't find in a lot of condo buildings. Now if you're buying a home and stuff, and especially if it's older, you can look beyond it. Like if you spend 10, 15, $20,000, maybe you can knock that wall down, make that room bigger, make it more useful. So even if the layout's not exactly what you were looking for, if you have an imagination, it can go a long ways. And you'll be surprised if you put a little money into it and the discount you might be able to get on an older building, what you can really do. And while we're talking about layout, start looking at the bedrooms. How many bedrooms are you looking for? And like I said earlier in the video, look beyond what you just need now. If you're planning on having kids, maybe you have a basement suite that you're planning on renting out, think long term. You gotta think at least 10 years into the future. Is this place still gonna be what you want? Is there enough bedrooms? Are you gonna have enough space? If you're on the fence and you're viewing a place, it doesn't have what you want, you know what? Keep going. You're not in a rush. It's going to happen. You're going to find the right place. So this is our bedroom. It's not very big, but it's not a junior. It's the perfect size for us. What we really love about this space, though, is we have this extra loft here. We have, well, eventually we're going to put a desk here, skylight right there, balcony right here, and of course our master bathroom. Honestly, it's a pretty nice space. Okay, now we're looking at the windows. And just generally, do they need to be replaced? How does it look? You know, this place had some really amazing blinds. The windows look perfectly fine. Especially for such an older building, I was pretty impressed with just generally on how well kept it is. It looks like the windows have probably been replaced in the last 10, 15 years. So that was all good. So when I'm talking about windows, what I'm essentially talking about is anything additional that's going to come with the place. It can be put in your contract that you want anything additional. We put in these blinds right here. But you know what? You can be adding a pool table if they have it, or anything that you really like that's theirs. My parents even put in curtains that they really liked, and they almost walked away from their house that they bought like 30 years ago just because they wanted the curtains and the owner didn't want to give it up. So you can put anything you want in these contracts. Yeah, but this is our window. These blinds are really nice. Glad we got them. That's what I mean when we're talking about windows. And since we're talking about windows, you also want to look for moisture. That's a big thing. When the home inspector was looking at our place, they were going through every room. There's a tool you can rent probably at Home Depot, Lowe's, any hardware store. And they went through every room, every inch of this place, looking for any leaks in the walls, water, accumulation, anything that could be really pricey, really expensive, issues that the strata will end up having to deal with, insurance premiums will end up going up. So if you're especially serious about buying the place, look into the moisture, look into the attic of the building, make sure there's no asbestos or anything like that. You really have to get into the finer details, especially when that's the place you want to pick. And while I'm talking about our home inspector, one thing I really didn't consider was our hot water heater. This is our hot water heater. Apparently these only last about 10 years, and you can check the date on them. I'm not sure exactly how to do it, but I'm sure there's other YouTube videos you can look up, and they'll show you exactly how to check the date of these things. They only have around a 10-year lifespan, so if yours is getting to that point, you're going to have to budget. But just assume that it's going to break down. All things end up breaking down. And while I'm talking about things that can break down, let's just go straight to the appliances. Look at everything. Don't fall for what you see. Look at the manufacturing date. Look at the barcodes on these things. Find out exactly how old your appliances are. The lifespan of appliances these days don't last a long time. So even if it looks great, don't fall for what it looks like. Get in there, check the model number, take pictures of it, and then go home and look them up. If they're 10 years or older, just assume they're going to break down. For example, our microwave, it looked brand new when we had it, and our home inspector tested it out. It wasn't heating water. It was broken. So you got us a discount on that. Also, our washer and dryer, they were both 10 years old, and after we bought it, they broke down. So assume if they're 10 years or older, that they're just not going to last. And the last thing I have that you should know before you view any properties is really just look at any imperfections and can you live with it. When you see it once, you probably might not even notice it, but when you're here every day, you will notice it. Look at the floors. These are our floors, and when we first viewed them, we thought nothing of it, but when you get down on your knees and you really look at it, you can tell there's just a lot of scratch marks. Put your nail to it. If it scratches easy, it's just a cheap floor. So yeah, we had these scratch marks on our floor. We had this in our kitchen that I noticed it, but I didn't think much of. And then when you're in your kitchen every day, you start to really say, hey, these floors might have to be replaced in 5 years. So anything that bugs you, annoys you, voice it out right away. Because believe me, when you move in, you're going to notice it. So that's my home viewing tips for viewing your first home, viewing your first house. I'm not an expert, but these were some tips I really wish I knew about when I was viewing houses on my own. So I hope you found this helpful, like the video, and thanks for watching. Until later, I'll see you later.